Powers, she's a Daily Beast columnist, and Tony Sayegh is a former press aide to Republican vice presidential nominee Jack Kemp and president of Talk Radio News Service. Both are Fox News contributors. Thank you both for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So how about a little history lesson? Let's start with that. John Adams, second president of the United States, he said this. He said, when it comes to moral authority, power corrupts. Society demands for moral authority and character to increase as the importance of the position increases. So being president of the United States, that's a pretty important position. Tony, how is his moral authority shaping up in light of this trifecta of scandals facing his administration?
You know, Heather, prior to particularly the IRS and the DOJ controversies, most of the criticisms of this president have been rather partisan. They call them witch hunts, Benghazi being a prime example. Everything that was done in opposition to him was viewed through the political prism. What's happening now is even establishment Democrats and mainstream media outlets are unified in the fact that something went terribly wrong in the executive branch of this president's administration, with the IRS, with the Department of Justice, targeting media outlets, specifically a Fox News reporter, James Rosen. Did they abuse their power? And in a free society, and one that is predicated on the freedom that people are guaranteed and the power that we entrust to our politicians, when you see this abuse of power, it really calls into question this president's ability to keep denying that he knew anything. And the more we're learning, especially with Eric Holder now being part of the James Rosen targeting, we have to understand that plausible deniability is no longer a plausible defense, and that does put into question the moral authority of the head of the executive branch, and that's the president.
Kirsten, I want to get your opinion in here. What do you think?
Well, I don't think the president needs plausible deniability in terms of the stuff that happened at the Department of Justice, because this is just his policy. You know, they're now kind of walking it back, but the reality is he didn't need to tell Eric Holder to do this stuff. The president has been perfectly on board with persecuting whistleblowers, which was the whole point of the investigation into the AP and into Fox. So I haven't seen them really feeling that they need to. There's no need to find that he was actually involved in it. It was the administration's policy. So there's that, and honestly, I don't think most Americans really care that much about it. I think we care about it a lot because it's the media. The IRS scandal is another story. I think that's something that everybody is upset about, and there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever that the president had anything to do with it, or frankly, anybody in the executive branch had anything to do with it. So I don't even understand the idea of trying to pin that on the president.
Well, look, let's go through the timeline.
Before you jump in, it does appear to be affecting the public, though. They are taking notice of it because all the recent controversies is taking a toll on the president's standing with voters. According to the latest Fox News poll of registered voters, just over half, 51%, disapprove of his performance, and that's up from 45% last month. This is the first time, Tony, that the disapproval of President Obama has topped 50% since April of 2012. So how are these numbers going to translate, to other members of his party?
Sure.
Will they lose seats, even the Senate, in 2014?
Oh, absolutely, and that's why you see so many Democrats now beginning to distance themselves from the defense of this White House, because they know that it's a political liability going into the 2014 cycle. And let's not forget, the president no longer is ever going to have his name on the ballot. So the political cover he can give Democrats is gone and mitigated. But let's also go to the point that Kirsten made, that somehow the IRS scandal isn't really a big deal. It is a big deal, and it can be traced.
I didn't say it wasn't a big deal.
Hold on,
as
executive.
No.
As an
Don't
executive
put words
matter.
in my mouth.
As an
I did not say it wasn't a big deal. I said that the president didn't have anything to do with it.
All right, so let's trace it back. We know a year ago, June 3rd of last year, the Deputy Secretary of Treasury was made aware that the internal IG's report was going to cover this issue. We now know in the spring of this year, the White House counsel and chief of staff were made aware of this. This is the political targeting of individuals and groups based on nothing other than the opposition of this president.
You're totally misrepresenting what happened. No, you're just misrepresenting everything.
I'm not misrepresenting everything. Those are just facts.
You are misrepresenting it. They were made aware of an investigation into it. You're making it sound like they were made aware that this was going on and they did nothing. It was being investigated.
Well, what have they done about it?
Okay.
So there was nothing to to do about it. It was
Okay.
being investigated.
Okay, so the
All right,
fact
well,
that hundreds of Tea
it's
Party
just,
groups and conservative groups
you know what,
were
you
being
have to
targeted
be a lot
You
better
both
off.
doesn't
You would be
require
a
much.
lot better off if you just stuck to the facts.
But the
This
thing
is
is,
to,
well,
like attach
Kirsten.
the president
Here's
to
one
things
fact.
that
The
were the
president is ultimately in charge, and he is the commander-in-chief, and all of this is happening under his watch, and he seems to say that, he didn't know it happened. So we'll see. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Greg?
Thank